That was fantastic. I've got a little bit of a Mary White voice going on today. I'm tickled pink right now because I get to introduce you to one of my best friends, the Reverend Susie Greene. She is an ordained Science of Mind minister. We all know that she has an amazing singing voice. If you've been to the center for any time, she has given us that gift of music. She's a fantastic speaker. She really speaks from the heart. She speaks with honesty, with humor, and she's just a real sweet soul in that way. She's also an abundant life coach and author of The Pocket Guide to Riches. Now, this book is available for purchase in the lobby after the celebration, and I do need one volunteer to help with that after the celebration. So if you're interested, raise your hand now. Yes, thank you, Nina. So, Pocket Guide to Riches, fantastic book. It's a great one to have in your library. So, without any more from me, I want to introduce you to the Reverend Susie Greene.
Her to say those nice things. Wow. Well, good morning, everyone. It's just a delight to be standing here. You know, I've been on this stage many times. I've been on this stage as a singer. I've been on this stage as a new member twice. And I've been on this stage as a beauty pageant host, where all the contestants were men dressed as women. Some of you are in the house. It's a wonderful, crazy, wonderful center. It's a happy center. And what is it that Good Morning America says, that Asheville is like one of the happiest places in America to live? Yeah. Well, I'm from Asheville. This is my town. I've been happy for a long time. So, it seems that, you know, the things that we want to do most sometimes, I mean, I have spoken to other centers. I've spoken at Unity centers, Science of Mind, New Thought. And when I asked Barbara if I could speak at this center, she said, without blinking an eye, yes. And my ego said, oh dear God. But I have come to a place in my life where I am longing to step into who I am. And it's funny how that thing that calls us and calls us is the thing that scares us the most. And sometimes our fear takes precedence over that thing that calls us. And yet there is this voice, this little voice, perhaps a gentle nudging from the universe that says, excuse me, your life is waiting. Yeah. I'm kind of busy right now. Could you come back in a year? But I am sure that everyone, each person in this room has something that calls. Something that's pulling you, that's that little voice inside of you, whether it's to build that dream home, whether it's to have a healthier body, whether it's to have a fulfilling, nurturing, loving relationship, or to enhance the relationship that you have, or perhaps something that's calling you just a little bit because you know that you'd be so good at this something, but you haven't quite made that step in that direction. Something holds us back. 4 years ago, I wrote a book called Pocket Guide to Riches, a formula to create money on a consistent basis. Now, I did not intend to write a formula, much less write a book. I mean, I failed my creative writing class when I was a senior in high school. Kind of wasn't in the stars for Susie to write a book. But something happened. 4 years ago, I went through a very devastating divorce. I hit rock bottom. And the thing that really distressed me was that it wasn't just that one. It was it was many of a inharmonious, devastating relationship. And I had to ask myself, what is going on? Why am I attracting this? I mean, I'm a good person. You know, I'm fun-loving, I'm happy. I'm this, I'm that, you know, I'm adventurous, I like to do things, and I went down the list and I thought, I'm good. I don't know what's wrong with these other people. Right? I don't know what's wrong with these other people. So I had to ponder that. And what I realized is that I did not love myself enough. I did not value myself enough. And then the question arose in me, what must I change about myself? And I love the way the universe works. So I go into my office and I sit myself down in front of my bookcase with my plethora of self-help books. You all know what I'm talking about. We probably got the same books. And this one book just practically jumps out at me into my lap. And it's a book by Debbie Ford, and it's called The Dark Side of the Light Chasers. I don't know if you know this book. I didn't even know I had it. I mean, I don't think I've ever even sifted through it. I didn't know what it was about. So I happened to also have, that week, a pet sitting job at a friend's house of mine. So I went to her house, and what is sitting on the coffee table in her living room but the movie version of the book that I have in my hand? It's like, okay, I'm going to do the work. Give me a break. And I did the work. Now, the message of this book is very important, or it was for me at that time. This book states that our dark side, that shadow self, is not something to shun or to turn away from or to not look at. It's actually something for us to embrace. Because that dark side of us is something that teaches us something about ourselves, or perhaps heals something within us. So I did the work. I pushed through stuff. And I mean stuff. It wasn't very pretty. Past stuff, childhood stuff, probably stuff from past lifetimes. I mean, it's in our DNA. And I would go out and I would practice. This book gives you wonderful exercises that you can go out and practice in the world. You can practice on your friends and they don't even know it. And so I'm practicing this, and I'm, things are starting to happen. Things are stirring inside of me. I'm getting excited. I'm happy. Things are moving, and all of a sudden something incredible happens. I have clarity. Clarity like I had never known before. I mean, I think it's what Abraham might mean when he says in the vortex. It's that being in alignment with who we really are and opening ourselves up to something greater inside of us. And as I was going through this clarity, incredible things were coming to me. Divine ideas were flowing through me like I didn't even know what. Sometimes I was writing things down so fast, my brain, I couldn't write it down fast enough. And then an amazing thing happened. Money started showing up. Then I got really happy. Money in ways I couldn't imagine. Expected checks in the mail, unexpected checks in the mail, Visa gift cards in the mail, refund checks that I had no idea even existed showing up in my bank account. One day I got a knock at the door. It was the charter cable man. And he said, "Are you Miss Greene?" I said, "Yes." He said, "Are you paying such and such for your service?" And I said, "Well, yes, I am." He said, "Well, Miss Greene, we've been reviewing your account, and we believe that we can lower your bill." When does any cable company, utility company of any kind come to your door and say, "We'd like to lower your bill"? Well, when I regained consciousness, I invited him in and we made the changes. But I'm looking at this step-by-step formula that I have created because what had happened was that I began to write all these steps down. I had taken stuff from my abundance books and things, the ideas that were coming to me, and I thought, oh my goodness, if this is working for me, this can work for other people. And I knew in that moment that I was being called to write this book. And I'm like, wait a minute. I failed that class. Did you not remember that? I mean, I don't even like to write. You who know me know I don't hardly get on Facebook. Blogging is just not my thing. But here it was. It was calling me and calling me. And yet, all of these fears came up. And isn't that what we do as humans? Oh my goodness. So many times, probably more times than we can all count, amazing ideas come through us, inspirational ideas, because this is who we are. We are creators. We create, we co-create with the divine every day. And these amazing ideas come through us. And yet, we can't see through this veil of illusion, this veil of fear. We limit ourselves because our reasoning mind cannot quite wrap around the how. And the moment that we think about the how, it stops the flow. The life force energy can't get through when we think about the how, because now we're in our heads. Now we're trying to figure out everything. We're trying to be in control. And we just don't know that. And when we can trust in this invisible divine presence, then we're on our way. But that how and our reasoning mind sometimes keep us from taking that step because we can't get beyond it. So all these fears came up in me, and guess what? I got over it. I wrote the book. In 4 months, the book was written, the book was published, and the book was endorsed by a wonderful spiritual guru of mine, John Randolph Price. Yeah, amazing author. And, you know, he didn't know me from Adam. And I sent him my script, and I said, would you be willing to endorse this? And the next day, he emailed me back and said, I would be delighted to endorse that. Don't ever limit yourselves. Don't ever say, you know what, I can't achieve that. No, no one would listen to my work. You want to send something to Oprah? Send it. Don't limit yourselves, just do it. So I decided to write this book. And what happens when we decide something? When we decide something, something magical happens. It's setting your intention. It's the exact same thing. But when we decide, we set into motion this force that goes out into the universe. Goes out, the little vibrations go out, and it comes back to us. And guess what? The people, the places, the conditions, the circumstances show up that support us in that very thing that is calling us. But now it can happen the opposite. If we say, oh, I can't afford, it will certainly support us in that as well. Because what happens when we say something like that? Our car breaks down, the roof leaks, we get sick, something happens to drain our purse. This is the way it works. This is how the universe is set up. And you know, we don't always know the opportunities. We don't always see the opportunities that are there. There's a woman named Mary Morrissey. I don't know if anyone is familiar with her. But she's an author. She's kind of a spiritual mentor. She has a program called Dream Builder, and it helps people to break through their obstacles and, you know, reach their dreams. And she tells the story of this one woman named Lauren, who is an American woman, and she lives in Florida, and she's an attorney. And she has a great business, but one day Lauren wakes up and she says, I hate my life. And she thinks, well, what would I like to do? I'd like to move to Washington, D.C. So Lauren moves to Washington, D.C. She practices her law. She gets heavier into politics. She gets into some investigative work. She's a very prominent, successful businesswoman. And one day she wakes up and says, I hate my life. Because that's what we do. We get what we want and we don't want it anymore. So she says, then what would I like to do? Well, I would like to move to Paris. So she gives herself permission to move to Paris. And while she's in Paris, of course, she's contemplating her life, and perhaps this is what had been calling her all along. And she's thinking, I would really like to bottle and have my own champagne label and bottle my champagne. Now, this is an American woman in France who wants to have her own champagne label. You have to understand, this whole business of champagne is a very, very, very old industry. It's a very male-dominated industry. And you can't even call it champagne except that it's grown and bottled in that district of Champagne, right? But that doesn't daunt her, no. She's going to go for it. And she has to go through this very grueling, intensive process to get a certificate in order to have her own label. But she goes for it, and of course, who's on the panel who makes all these decisions? They're all male. But she goes for it, and she gets the certificate. Oh my gosh, I've got the certificate. Isn't that wonderful? And all these fears came up in her. What am I doing? What was I thinking? I'm an American woman over here in Paris. These are all men. Are they going to take me seriously? And she had already put in a whole lot of time and money and effort to get this certificate. So she calls up Mary, who's her mentor. And Mary says, well, okay, Lauren, tell me what your dream is. Put yourself inside the image. And that's what we do to manifest. We put ourselves inside the image and we think from it. We put ourselves in that delicious, wonderful, all those little details of our dream and our imagination. And we feel how it feels and we act as if. And that's what brings things into form. So she starts describing her dream. Well, I would like to have this beautiful, pretty label that, it would cater mostly to women. And, they would sell it all over in the shops in Paris. And they would have it in theaters. And, of course, they would take it to all their parties. And they would fall in love with me and fall in love with the champagne. And Mary said, well, great. Go ponder that. So she did. About a week later, Mary gets a phone call from Lauren, and Lauren is beside herself. Oh my goodness, there are just no good opportunities, she says. I mean, these people, they just want to taste my champagne. I don't know if they're going to buy anything, and they just want, and there are no good opportunities. And Mary said, whoa, now tell me what's going on. And Lauren said, well, this opportunity came up for me to present my champagne to this women's executive group, and I thought that I was going to get to go in there and talk to them face to face, tell them my story, show them my champagne, and now all they want me to do is drop by 2 bottles of champagne. I don't get to talk to them, I don't get to see them, I don't get to tell them my story. No good opportunity. And Mary said, well, Lauren, you could treat this like it's not a good opportunity, and you can walk away. Or you can treat this as if it is a wonderful opportunity. And perhaps all those little appearances, they're just appearances. And perhaps the great opportunity has yet to be revealed to you. She said, what could you do that would get their attention or, that you could really bring the focus onto you? And Lauren said, well, let me think about that. She said, she said, I was going to deliver the champagne in a basket. I could put some scrolls in there with my story, and then I could put a picture, and then I could, and she's thinking about all these I coulds, and guess what? Before you know it, her whole energy has shifted. She's excited. And Mary said, yes, you know what, Lauren? You know what? If you go in there and you treat this opportunity with the respect and integrity that it deserves, even if they don't buy 1 bottle of champagne, you can walk away knowing that you did everything in your power to serve you and to perhaps serve them. So, that's what happened. The day came for her to deliver her champagne. She walks into the building. First of all, she's so happy. She finds herself whistling, going down the street, and she's like, let go of all the outcome. There's no attachment to it. And she's feeling light. She goes into the building, she walks down the hallway, and out of the bathroom comes this woman dressed in this very nice executive suit. And Lauren said, "Are you so-and-so?" And the woman said, "Why, yes, I am." And the woman said, "You must be one of the women who are stopping by to show your champagne today for us to taste." And Lauren said, "Yes." And the woman said, "Well, tell me your story." And they went into her office, and they fell in love with Lauren. They fell in love with her champagne. But along the way, Lauren meets a gentleman. And he says, "I know you. I've seen that label. It's beautiful. You know, I would like to buy some of that." She said, "Really?" She said, "Well, how many would you like?" He said, 15. And she says, 15 bottles? And he said, "No, 15 cases to go in all of my shops in Paris." This was Lauren's dream. There is an invisible, universal law at work for us all the time, every day, every moment. We can't see it. It's like the air we breathe. It's invisible, but we know that it's there. But there is this divine presence, this essence, this beingness, whatever you want to call it, divine intelligence, God, life force energy, but this stuff comes through us and it vibrates. We're vibrating people, energetic. We live in a unified field of energy, and we are participants in this energy. And we can use this to propel our lives into that calling that's calling us, whatever it is, this invisible stuff. Because that's what we do. We vibrate, and it's in these chairs right now all around you. Woo! Do you feel it? I call it substance. And it's there waiting for us to say yes. Marianne Williamson says, "Our deepest fear is not that we are inadequate. Our deepest fear is that we are powerful beyond measure. And that it is our light, not our darkness, that most frightens us." And who are we to be brilliant, talented, fabulous, magnificent? Who are we not to be? And when we stand straight and tall in our power, and we are in alignment with who we really are, and we open up to this divine, invisible presence, it seems to expand us into the fullness of who we are. And then we get to discover the magic of our lives. We get to experience the wonder of this life. And this life lifts us up to be bigger and to have more and to do more and be more and to have bigger and more than what we ever could have imagined possible for ourselves. Even if it means asking the question, what must I change about myself? Your life is waiting, and so it is.